Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new webinar today. We will be talking about powering EV charging in India, OCPP, and mobile-first payments with UPI. As many of you know, we have recently published a white paper on this matter, and we will briefly summarize this white paper and also dive a bit deeper. With me today, I have our guest speaker, Saket, the head of hardware development at Bright Blue. So welcome to you. And we also have two of the OCA team members on board, Lonneke Driessen, our director, and Frank Boeve, our OCA protocol specialist, and also the author of the UPI white paper. My name is Yildau, and I'm one of the OCA team members. I will be hosting this webinar today. At the end of the session, we'll have a short Q&A. If you have any questions or ideas, please share them in the question box that you can see on the right top of your screen. For now, I would like to give the word to Lonneke to give us a short introduction of the OCA.
Thank you, Yildau. Welcome everybody to this webinar regarding UPI and OCPP. Next slide, please. Before we start with the topic of the webinar of today, I'd like to give a brief introduction on OCPP and the Open Charge Alliance for those of you who are new to our organization. So first of all, OCPP stands for Open Charge Point Protocol, and it describes the information exchange between a charging station and a charging station management system. To the left, you see a picture, and OCPP resides between those two systems. And it describes, for example, how to authorize a charging session, how to start and stop a charging session. Secondly, it describes how to manage the energy flow, so smart charging, bidirectional charging. And thirdly, it describes how to monitor the status of the charger and the health of the charging station. OCPP has been around for 15 years, and it has been developed over the past 15 years by the industry, incorporating field experience and learnings over the past decade. Next slide, please. OCPP, is important to know, is an open source standard, and by that we mean that it was developed back in 2009 by the Dutch distribution system operators combined in ELAT. And you can download the specification for free from the Open Charge Alliance website. You can use it unrestrictedly. There is no requirements for licensing, payments, registration. So in that sense, you're free to use OCPP and benefit from OCPP. Next slide, please. The Open Charge Alliance is the industry alliance governing OCPP. OCA was founded in 2014 under Dutch law, and we are a non-profit foundation with the goal to help the EV charging industry accelerate. The Open Charge Alliance does have the copyright on the specifications of OCPP and, of course, the name OCPP. And the activities that the Open Charge Alliance does is to promote OCPP, of course, to develop OCPP, all the future versions, and we develop a testing and a certification program. Next slide, please. OCPP is used in many places around the world, and because you can just download and use it for free, it's very popular in many regions. And in this graph, you see to which countries OCPP is being downloaded. So the more darker colors means more downloads, and the lighter colors means fewer downloads. And you can see that almost everywhere OCPP is helping the industry set up charging station infrastructure. Next slide, please. So there is a lot of information on our website. If you haven't seen the website, please pay it a visit. All the information about our activities, about white papers, about the protocol itself, of course, about certification program is on the website. And it also has the possibility for you to join. If you don't have to join the Open Charge Alliance to use OCPP, of course, but if you like to become more active in our community, you can join. And we hope that many of you will. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Lonneke. I would now like to give the word to Saket to give us a walkthrough of the future of mobility and payments in India.
Thank you, Lanaka. Thank you, Jildo. So next slide, please. So I just want to talk about a little bit about the future of mobility and payment transactions in India. I think India has an urgent need for a huge change in how we are currently managing our climate and our transport. There is an unprecedented challenge. Every year we see that our AQI, our climate change is getting worse and worse, and we need to really transition to renewable energy. Next slide, please. Yeah, so there's a huge market opportunity that has happened in the last couple of years, wherein we're seeing a steady growth in electric vehicles in the Indian market. So it has been growing at about 40.7% CAGR, and it's expected to grow at the same, while the government target was just 30%. So we've already exceeded that right now, and that's a very good sign. Unlike in the Western world, in India it's more of a bottom up approach. We see that the two-wheeler and the three-wheeler markets are really dominating in the transition to the EV ecosystem. And clearly, the mainstream adoption is happening in commercial use. We're seeing a lot of commercial utilization happening in the three-wheeler and the two-wheeler space. Four-wheeler segment is slowly building in with the homegrown players like Tata and Mahindra releasing newer vehicles. But where we see an inflection point coming in would be when the cab market also really, or the fleet market really starts embracing a lot more four-wheelers that come out in the future for this particular segment. Next slide, please. Yeah, and so why now? So why EVs have started dominating the Indian market? So one is the total cost of ownership. So very clearly, people are seeing that while the higher upfront cost is definitely a slightly a deal breaker, overall cost that happens when owning these vehicles start making a lot of sense. So a lot of people have started realizing that yes, it is a commercially viable to now use electric vehicles. Policy support, the government has been releasing really helpful policies, has been making easier and easier to install charging infrastructure in the country, so that makes it even more easier to deploy these assets. And then also energy security, so the government has made it very clear that they also want to look at reducing oil imports and making it a national priority. So that all of these combined, I think, have started creating a fantastic pot of innovation to happen. And we, as we can see now, the EV market is definitely on a hockey stick curve as it keeps climbing up. Next slide, please. So now we come to the crux of the issue that we have, and as a EV driver myself, one of the biggest pain points that I see is the number of wallets that are there and the number of EV charging applications that we need to download in order to access chargers. Sometimes these are small CPO players who are just starting out and they have their own wallets, and unfortunately some of them cannot probably sustain their operations, and they close down and they're occupied by other CPOs. The integration is not that great, or some CPOs offer RFIDs and we need to have the RFIDs with us. You lose the RFID, you need to ask for another RFID. Preloading funds into a digital wallet that I can never take it out, because once the money is there, the money is stuck. And all kinds of other issues that come in with just terrible user experience using these wallets, and it's just made a lot of people not really appreciate the EV ecosystem as such, because it's not user friendly. So next slide, please. Yeah, so where the change actually happens is in fact already here. The technology already exists, and that's what we need to really integrate with the open charging standards that we have, and that is the UPI. The UPI has absolutely been a game changer in the Indian ecosystem. Its interoperability is fantastic. One QR works across multiple operators. The user does not care who owns the charger at the end of the day, because it's seamless in the way they work in. There's no wallet lock-in, so that also becomes a big plus. And you also pay exactly for what you consume, so that also increases trust with the consumers, which also makes people open up more to the idea of charging, to the idea of EV ecosystem actually improving and just building up this ecosystem further and further. Next slide, please. Yeah, again, unmatched scale. So we don't even have to worry about scalability with UPI. Our volumes, our real-time transactions in the global scale already accounts for almost 50%. We're doing about 200 trillion rupees of transaction in the last 12 months and 131 billion of just annual volume. So UPI is already clearly the path forward for EV charging. And I think that is why it's a fantastic thing that OCA has recognized this and brought in an ecosystem for integrating UPI with OCPP. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I already explained, I think UPI's promise for EV mobility, you have open loop access and QR code ubiquity. So I think this is already covered. We can go to the next slide. Yeah. So I'll just introduce a little bit about my company and what we do. So I'm the co-founder of BrightBlue, and we build intelligent charging solutions for the next 1 billion EV drivers. Next slide, please. Yeah, so our mission is very simple, and it's to make easy to use, affordable charging solutions at scale. And we want to transition everybody into the new clean energy system, and that's where we really believe a future where vehicles, buildings, electricity, everything integrates seamlessly, and everything through renewable energy sources. So that's clearly our fundamental mission, and why we've started this company and what products we build. Everything is aligned towards this mission and vision. Next slide, please. So we are a company that's based in India. We have our R&D set up in India in Pune. So we also manufacture our chargers in Pune. We have a team that has a lot of global players, people who have worked in various skill sets, in various ecosystems and various industries as well, have come together to build this. So we have we have had experience in the Dutch market. We have experience from the US market. So we understand the global play as well as the local play, and that's what makes us really strong in what we are building as solutions for the product, for the market. And we also build manufacture our products in India. Yeah, I think I already covered this. We can go to the next slide. Yeah. So one of our key strength and advantage is the fact that we design, develop everything in-house. We are a company that is vertically integrated fully in our system. So we own the stack, we own the firmware, we own the software, we own everything. So the hardware is completely built in-house. We have a team of complete global prominence. We have experts from all different fields. We use India as our main R&D center because India produces fantastic engineers at a very competitive unit price. And again, India also gives us a fantastic challenging scenario wherein the grid stability is a huge problem. And very clearly, we have built our products to withstand this extreme weather conditions and grid fluctuations to make our products really built for the global scale. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just a small introduction about our product. So we have our flagship product is the Jolt AC charger. So we built the 7 kilowatt and the 22 kilowatt AC chargers. We have integrated RCD and surge protection up to 6 kilovolts for reliability even in the harshest conditions. We have an IP67 rated enclosure, and we are one of the first companies in India to build the supercapacitor based backup instead of relying on traditional battery based backups. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, I explained this already before. Our proprietary logic, we basically control the entire stack. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saket. Now Frank will take over to walk you through the white paper.
Hello, so yeah, my name is Frank Buve, and yeah, I wrote originally a white paper about how you can support UPI payments with OCPP. So let me first yeah, give a quick introduction of the UPI. It was already done by Saket. It shows that it's yeah, a very common payment system in India, and it works with a virtual payments address, and it can work with any mobile number by scanning a QR code. And the steps to integrate it with OCPP are basically really fairly simple. Meaning you do a UPI payment to the CPO, to the charge point operator. When the operator receives this payment, then this triggers the operator to remotely start a charging session for you. And the payment you've done is a prepaid amount, so the charging ends as soon as the payment amount is reached. Now, there are basically two options to deal with this. The first option that I'm going to present now is what we call the direct UPI payment. In this case, you scan the QR code of the charger with just any UPI app, and there's no CPO app or website involved. You just scan the QR code with the UPI code, and this code contains, for example, let me get a pointer, the payment address of the CPO, for example, CPO 123 at HDFC Bank, and it contains an ID of the charger. So this is then represented in the QR code in something like this, where you have the payment address, the CPO code, and the transaction details that contain the EVSE ID where you want to charge the session. And then you enter the amount and starts charging. I'm now going to show you a so-called sequence diagram, which is like a technical diagram that shows the message exchange between the different partners, between the charging station, the UPI app, the banks, and the charge point operator. So the user first scans the UPI app and enters an amount, for example, 200 rupee in this case. And then this amount is paid via UPI to the CPO bank. CPO gets a notification via an API that the payment has been received, and the CPO backend will then automatically remotely trigger a transaction to be started on the EVSE that was part in transaction details and the amount. So the charger now starts for the prepaid amount. In this solution, there's no refund. So you charge for 200 rupees. If you do not use it, then the remainder stays in your account, and you can probably use it for our next charging session. The more advanced option involves a CPO web page that deals with the payment. In this case, again, user scans the QR code with any UPI app, but this QR code does not contain immediately the payment details, but it contains a URL that redirects to the CPO page. So the QR code would look, for example, something like this: an HTTPS with the CPO site, and as a parameter for the charger ID where you're currently standing. So the UPI app then opens the CPO web page, user enters a payment amount, and then you're redirected to a payment service provider to complete the payment. I will show you the sequence again in detail so that you see the different way that it functions. So again, here we open the UPI app, and you're automatically redirected to the CPO web page. And then the CPO web page, when you do the payment, redirects you to a payment service provider. And you probably don't see that in the web page, but the payment is taken care of by a payment service provider. And you can then enter the amount to pay on that site. And in most cases, you will have multiple payment options. You could also say, I want to pay with a credit card maybe, but you can also select UPI as a payment method. So you select UPI as a payment method. The amount of money is transferred to the CPO bank. And it's then the payment service provider that sends a notification of this payment to the CPO. Then again, the CPO remotely starts the transaction. And in this case, if you stop early with charging, you have not consumed your entire refund. You have the possibility, because the payment service provider is involved, you have the possibility to refund the remainder to your bank. So this is obviously the more advanced solution. So I've now presented the high-level steps on how this works. I would now like to show you exactly in details what it means with respect to OCPP messages. So we have this overview, the option B with the payment service provider involved. And I'm now going to show the exact steps with OCPP. And here we see if the user scans the UPI app, then the CSMS, the charging station management system, the backend of the CPO, can optionally send a message to the charging station to notify that the payment process is now ongoing. It is not mandatory to use, but it's user-friendly that if you start a QR code that on the display of the charger, you show something like, okay, payment process is ongoing. And then the payment is done via the payment service provider website. This is all outside of OCPP. And then when the payment service provider has authorized the payment and payment reference is sent to the backend, then the backend system will remotely start a session. And this is done using the request start transaction message from OCPP. When the charging station receives this message, then the charging station will start a transaction and say, okay, I now start a transaction. Yeah, event type started. And then in response to this message, the backend will send a response back that says, okay, transaction limit maximum cost is 1234 in this case, because there was a payment done for 1234 rupees. But this mechanism ensures that you can never charge for more than the amount that you have paid. And when the maximum cost is reached, the charging station will automatically stop the transaction with the trigger reason cost limit reached. So using this process, you can very securely do prepaid charging sessions. Well, all of this process is discussed in details in this white paper, OCPP and UPI mobile payments. It goes a little bit more in details that I'm presenting here, and it also gives you some hints on how you could possibly do this with OCPP 1.6 and 2.01 by using customizations. But definitely OCPP 2.1 already has all the provisions built in, so it will be much easier to implement it with OCPP 2.1. And 2.1 is compatible with 2.01. So everything that you have built with 2.01 will still work if you implement 2.1. So that should be a relatively minor step. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention on this subject. And I would like to give you back to Yilda to go into the questions box.
Yes, thank you, Frank, and thanks to all the other speakers for your presentations. It's now time for the questions. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the question box. Some questions have already come in. The first question is for prepaid UPI transactions, whether the OCPP server needs to send a remote stop session or the responsibility is with the charger to stop once the payment threshold is reached.
Yes, I can answer that. No, the advantage of OCPP 2.1 is that we have this transaction limit mechanism. So that means you can send a maximum cost or a maximum energy limit to the station, and then the station will automatically stop at this limit. So you do not have to send a remote stop, sorry. And that there was indeed the issue with the previous OCPP versions, where you would have to monitor the energy use or the cost, and then send a stop just in time, which of course will always be either just too early or just too late. But now with this transaction limit mechanism in OCPP 2.1, the charger will automatically stop at the specified maximum cost or maximum energy.
Okay, thank you for your answer. The next question that came in is how charging session will stop in option A of UPI-based payments.
In option A is basically the same mechanism, because the backend system knows what the payment was and will then send a transaction limit for that cost. So it will also stop in the same way. I did not present the OCPP messages for that, but they are basically the same. In the paper, by the way, they are shown in detail.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how is EVSE selection done if payment before start transaction? Does this also work for battery swapping?
Well, there are basically two questions. The first one, how is the EVSE selection done? That is part of the QR code. So you have to select to scan the QR code for the EVSE that you want to use for charging. And then the EVSE ID is part of the QR code that is sent to the operator. And well, that can be used for battery swapping. That will depend a bit on your business model, I think, because you do a prepaid payment, and battery swapping, usually you have to pay depending on the difference in state of charge between the inserted battery and the new battery that you get. So that's a variable amount. You might not know that in advance, but I can imagine that if you have either the scheme where you can refund what was left of your amount, or if you have a business model where you say, okay, you just pay a fixed amount for every swap. Doesn't matter what the difference in state of charge is, then you could also use it for battery swapping.
All right. If charging transaction amount exceeds the payment made by the user, then how to collect the additional money?
Well, if you have the option A, where there's no CPO app or website involved, then there's no refund possible. So your amount stays open at the CPO, and you can then use it again in a future transaction, or you would have to contact the CPO maybe to refund to it. So that's a bit cumbersome. But in the option B, where you have the CPO website, then the payment is done via a payment service provider. And then if some amount is left, the CPO can request or automatically issue the payment service provider to refund the remaining amount, and it will then be refunded to your bank account.
Okay, thank you. When the network is offline for mobile and charger network running in offline mode, can you still start?
Well, the short answer is probably not. I mean, if the mobile data connection is down, then you will not be able to do a UPI payment either, because it also uses the datacom. If it's only the charger that is offline, so you are able to transfer money via UPI, via your mobile, but the charger is offline for whatever reason, then the remote start transaction will not succeed. So you will not be able to charge. And then if you have the option B, the CPO will refund the money to you. If the option A, money will stay there in your account, and you have to do another try later on or with a different charger.
Right. Who will handle payment refunds if user stops charging before the max cost of charger offline?
Yeah, so that is a CPO that instructs the payment service provider then to refund the money. And that will usually be an automatic signal in the API that the CPO has with the payment service provider, just sends you, okay, this is the leftover amount, and refund that.
Yes, okay. Next question is how to handle payments for some scenarios where it involves the usage of multiple connector, where the users are connected to 2 connectors.
Well, I'm assuming that the question is about where you have a charging station with multiple EVSEs and multiple connectors that you can take. Then you would have to, you would need different QR codes for each connector because the EVSE ID is part of the QR code. If you have the option B with the CPO website, then it would be possible that the QR code only contains the charging station ID, and then the CPO makes you enter the number of the right connector to use in its web page. That's also an option.
Okay, thank you. With option A, so starting without the CPO app, do you need a CPMS as well?
Yes, there still needs to be a backend system of the CPO that receives a trigger from the bank that receives the money. So you need an API with your bank so that you get the signal if something is transferred to your account with the transaction details, because the transaction detail field contains the EVSE ID, and then the CSMS has to use that information to remotely start the transaction. Yeah, so you do need a CPMS or CSMS in OCPP terminology to handle that.
All right, thank you. In option A, direct UPI, which is no refund, will the unit or CPO recognize the remaining amount of scanned by the same user again, if scanned by the same user again?
You mean if some money has been left over from the previous time, will it recognize it? Yeah, well, you know what the what user the payment came from. So the CPO should like keep like a wallet for that user, and just fill it with the next payments. But that's an implementation detail on the CPO side. So that's not really OCPP related, but that's how it should work. Yeah. Maybe if Saket knows something about the implementations of that. No, Saket, you have something to?
No, not really. We've not done any particular implementations of this, but it could be something that, it could be an interesting challenge to implement it on the charger side as well. But yeah, we haven't done anything as like this so far.
Okay, then I think if there are no more questions, then that was it for today. Thank you everybody for listening and asking your questions, and of course to our speakers to share their insights. We will publish a recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel shortly. Will be uploaded within a few days, so you can watch it again or share it with people who also might be interested in this topic. If you still have some questions left, you can always contact the Open Charge Alliance at info@openchargealliance.org, and we will come back to you as soon as possible. If you like this webinar, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn or check our website for any new webinars that are coming up or any other live events. For now, we'll close this session. Thank you for joining, and I wish you a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.